The morning sun rose over the hills of New Eden, casting golden light across the small house by the lake. Inside, General Jack Harper stood by the window, a cup of coffee warming his hands. At 55 years old, his face carried the marks of decades of military service, a scar along his jaw, eyes that had seen too much war, and hair that had gone gray too early. But for the first time in years, those eyes held something resembling peace. "You're up early again," said a soft voice behind him. Jack turned to see his wife, Lisa, entering the kitchen. She wore a simple lab coat over her clothes, ready for another day of research. Her blonde hair was tied back, and her blue eyes sparkled with the curiosity that had first drawn him to her 10 years ago. "Old habits," Jack replied with a slight smile. 25 years of 5 a.m. wake-ups don't go away easily. Lisa walked over and kissed his cheek. "At least you're not waking up to alarms and battle reports anymore." She poured herself coffee and sat at their small kitchen table. "Will you be okay while I'm at the lab today? I might be late." "We're making progress on the Xeraxian tissue samples." Jack nodded. "I have a meeting with some of the colony officials this afternoon. Then I thought I'd fix that fence in the backyard." Lisa smiled at the thought of the famous General Jack Harper, the man who had led humanity to victory in 3 major conflicts, now spending his days fixing fences. "Quite the retirement plan you've got there, General." "It's all I want now," Jack said, meaning it. After breakfast, he walked Lisa to her research vehicle. Before she climbed in, he pulled her close and held her for a moment longer than usual. "What was that for?" she asked. "Just because," he answered. Something in him always feared each goodbye could be the last. Another habit from his military days that wouldn't fade. He watched her vehicle disappear down the dirt road toward the research facility 5 miles away. Jack didn't know that. Across the galaxy, in the gleaming halls of the Xeraxian Imperial Palace, his name was being spoken with hatred. High Commander Vrex stood before the Emperor, his scaled skin reflecting the blue light of the throne room. His forearms were positioned in the formal stance of reporting, 2 crossed over his chest and 2 at his sides. "The human scientist continues her research, Your Magnificence," Vrex said, his voice a low rumble. "Our spies confirm she has discovered the connection between our respiratory system and the protein deficiency that has plagued our outer colonies." The Emperor's large eyes narrowed to slits. "And if she completes this research, humans could develop a method to target our biological weakness. They could create weapons that would be devastating to our people." The Emperor rose from his throne, his ceremonial armor clicking with each movement. "This human, what is her name?" "Lisa Harper," Vrex answered. "She is the mate of retired General Jack Harper." A murmur went through the throne room. Even here, billions of miles from Earth, the name Harper carried weight. The Emperor paused at this information, then waved a dismissive hand. "Harper is no longer a threat. He has laid down his weapons. The humans think themselves safe behind our peace treaty, but they cannot be allowed to develop such research." The Emperor's voice hardened. "Eliminate the scientist. Leave evidence of our involvement." Vrex's head tilted in confusion. "Your Magnificence wishes us to be identified?" "Yes," the Emperor said coldly. "Let it serve as a message to others who would research our vulnerabilities. The peace treaty protects their territories, not their scientists who work against us." Vrex bowed deeply. "It shall be done." 3 days later, Jack attended his meeting with the colony officials. The small outpost of New Eden was growing, and as the most experienced military mind on the planet, his advice was valued. The meeting ran longer than expected, discussing new defense systems for the expanding colony. As Jack drove home along the lakeside road, the setting sun painted the water red. Something in the crimson reflection made his soldier's instincts flare. He pressed harder on the accelerator. When he crested the final hill and saw black smoke rising from where his house should be, Jack felt his world collapse. He abandoned. The vehicle before it fully stopped and ran the last 100 yards. The house was a smoldering ruin. Walls had been blasted apart, and small fires still burned among the debris. But it was the symbol burned into the ground in front of what had been their porch that made Jack's blood freeze. the unmistakable crest of a Xeraxian Imperial kill squad. "Lisa!" he shouted, plunging into the ruins. He dug through collapsed beams and shattered furniture, ignoring the burns on his hands. He found her in what had been their bedroom, partially buried under a fallen wall. Jack knew she was gone before he reached her. Still, he pulled her body free and cradled her against his chest. Her lab coat was stained with blood, her research tablet still clutched in her hand. He sat there as darkness fell, holding her, his mind cycling between crushing grief and cold fury. The colony's emergency responders found him there an hour later, alerted by neighbors who had seen the smoke. "General Harper," one of them said gently. "We need to contact Fleet Command." Jack interrupted, his voice hollow. "Tell them to send a secure channel to this location. Sir, the medical team should—" "Now," Jack said, finally looking up. Something in his eyes made the responder step back. Later that night, in a hastily established secure room at the colony's administrative building, Jack stood before a holographic projection of Admiral Catherine West. Her face was grim as she listened to his report. "Jack, I'm so sorry," she said when he finished. "We'll launch a full investigation. The treaty with the Xeraxians is over," Jack said flatly. "They deliberately left their mark. We can't just declare war because of one attack," Catherine argued. "As horrible as this is, I'm not asking for war," Jack interrupted. "I'm asking for reinstatement." Catherine studied his face. "What are you planning, Jack?" "Justice," he answered. Then more quietly, "Reinstate me, Catherine. Give me a ship and a small crew, that's all I need. The diplomats will want to handle this through proper channels." Jack's laugh was devoid of humor. "The Xeraxians understand only one language, power. They killed a civilian scientist and left their mark to send a message." His eyes hardened. "Now I need to send one back." Admiral West was silent for a long moment. "Report to Earth Orbital Command in 3 days. Your commission will be reactivated." She paused. "Jack, don't make this personal." But as the connection ended, Jack looked down at Lisa's blood still on his hands. The Xeraxians had made a fatal miscalculation. They had killed a scientist, thinking it would deter others. They hadn't understood that in doing so, they had awakened something far more dangerous, a human who now had nothing left to lose. As dawn broke over the ruined house, Jack placed Lisa's body in the care of the colony's medical team. He packed a single bag with essentials and the last photo of Lisa he could find in the wreckage. The man who boarded the transport to Earth that morning was no longer the retired general who had been fixing fences the day before. He was once, again, General Jack Harper, and the galaxy would soon remember why that name had once made enemies tremble. The Earth Orbital Command Station hung like a silver wheel against the darkness of space. Inside its steel corridors, Jack Harper moved with purpose. 3 days of space travel had hardened his grief into something cold and sharp. He wore his old uniform now, the 4 stars of his rank gleaming on his shoulders. People stepped aside as he passed, some offering salutes, others simply staring. The legend had returned. Admiral Catherine West waited in her office. Large windows showed Earth spinning below, peaceful and blue. She stood when Jack entered, her face showing both sympathy and concern. "Jack," she said, offering her hand. "You look like hell." "I feel worse," he replied, his voice flat. Catherine gestured to a chair, but Jack remained standing. She sighed and pressed a button on her desk. The windows darkened and a security field hummed to life around the room. "The official position is that we're pursuing diplomatic channels with the Xeraxian Empire," she said. "We've lodged formal protests about the attack." Jack's laugh was cold. "And what did they say?" "They denied direct involvement but expressed regret for actions taken by overzealous military elements. They've offered compensation." Jack's fist tightened. "They put a price on her life." Catherine watched him carefully. "Officially, we've accepted their explanation to avoid breaking the peace treaty. Unofficially," she slid a data chip across her desk. "This is your new assignment. The vessel Northern Star is being prepared. Small, fast, with advanced stealth systems." Jack picked up the chip. "And my crew? You'll meet them today." They've been told this is a special reconnaissance mission. Catherine leaned forward. Jack, I'm giving you room to operate, but there are limits. You're not to start a war. I'm not starting anything, Jack said. I'm finishing what they began. Colonel Sam Miller waited in the ship hangar beside the Northern Star. At 48, he was still fit and sharp, his short brown hair only starting to gray. When he saw Jack approaching, his professional stance softened. General, he said, stepping forward to grasp Jack's arm. I'm sorry about Lisa. Jack nodded once, accepting the sympathy. How much did Catherine tell you? Enough. Sam glanced around. The others are inside. They're good people. Loyal. Jack studied the ship. Sleek and dark, built for speed and stealth rather than direct combat. It will do, he said. Inside, 3 officers waited in the command center. They stood at attention as Jack entered. At ease, Jack said, looking them over. Sam made the introductions. Major Olivia Green, Intelligence. Best analyst in the fleet and speaks 3 Xeraxian dialects. Olivia was tall with short red hair and alert eyes. She nodded to Jack. General. Lieutenant Paul Davis, Tactical Officer. Top of his class in asymmetric warfare. Davis was younger, perhaps 30, with dark skin and a serious expression. His handshake was firm. And Chief Engineer Alan Wright. He can make this ship do things its designers didn't think possible. Wright was older than the others, with calloused hands and a weathered face. He didn't smile. Jack looked at them all. You've been told this is a reconnaissance mission. That's only partly true. He inserted Catherine's data chip into the ship's system. A holographic display showed Xeraxian space. Our real mission is to find those responsible for the attack on New Eden Colony, specifically the kill team that murdered Dr. Lisa Harper. The officers exchanged glances. Sir, Olivia said carefully. That would mean operating deep in Xeraxian territory, against explicit treaty terms. Yes, Jack said simply. Paul Davis leaned forward. Are those our orders, sir? Official orders? Jack met his eyes. Your official orders are on that chip. Reconnaissance and intelligence gathering. How we interpret those orders is up to us. Anyone uncomfortable with that can leave now. No questions asked, no marks on your record. No one moved. Sam broke the silence. What's our first step, General? Jack activated another display showing a small Xeraxian outpost. This is Outpost Krell 9. It's a communications relay station near our border. Major Green believes it processes intelligence reports from Xeraxian operatives in human space. Olivia nodded. Their kill teams would have reported through that station. We might find records of the operation against Dr. Harper. We leave in 6 hours, Jack said. Prepare the ship. As the others moved to their tasks, Sam stayed behind with Jack. They're good people, Sam said quietly, but they don't fully understand what they're getting into. Jack looked at his old friend. Do you? Sam's expression was grim. I served with you for 15 years, Jack. I know what you're capable of when someone threatens what you care about. Just tell me one thing. How far are you planning to go? Jack turned to look at the star map, his eyes finding the bright point that marked the Xeraxian imperial capital. All the way. 3 days later, the Northern Star drifted silently near Outpost Krell 9. The Xeraxian station hung against the darkness, its rotating sections creating artificial gravity for the crew inside. From the outside, it appeared peaceful. In the ship's ready room, Jack briefed his team. The station has 27 crew members, minimal weapons. We go in quiet, access their data core, and leave. No casualties if possible. Paul studied the station schematics. Their security patterns suggest a shift change in 2 hours. That would be our best window. I've modified our shuttle's signature, Alan added. It will read as a maintenance drone on their sensors. Olivia looked concerned. If we're discovered, General, it would be considered an act of war. Then we won't be discovered, Jack said firmly. He turned to Sam. You'll lead the boarding party. I need you to get Major Green to their central data core. 10 minutes is all she should need. Sam nodded. And you? I'll be monitoring from here. If something goes wrong, I need to be ready to extract you. As the others prepared for the mission, Jack stood alone in his quarters. He took out the photo of Lisa he had salvaged from their ruined home. Her smile seemed to ask him what he was doing, whether this path of vengeance was right. They need to learn, he whispered to the image. They need to understand what happens when they take something precious from us. He placed the photo back in his pocket as Sam called over the intercom. Team is ready, General. Jack's face hardened as he headed toward the launch bay. This small station was just the beginning. From here, they would follow the trail up the Xeraxian chain of command, all the way to those who had given the order to kill his wife, all the way to those who thought they could kill a human woman and face no consequences, all the way to justice or vengeance. Jack no longer saw the difference between the two. Sam's team returned to the Northern Star 2 hours later. Their faces showed the tension of the mission, but their eyes held the light of success. Olivia carried a small data device in her hand like it was made of gold. We got it, Sam reported as they entered the command center. No alarms, no casualties. Jack nodded once. Well done. Major Green, what did you find? Olivia plugged the device into the ship's computer system. Data streams filled the holographic display in the center of the room. It's all here, she said, her fingers moving quickly over the controls. Communications, mission reports, personnel files, everything that passed through this station in the last 6 months. The team gathered around as she worked. Minutes stretched into hours as Olivia sorted through the mass of information. Finally, she looked up. I have them, she said quietly. Operation Silent Warning. Authorized 3 weeks ago. The target was specifically Dr. Lisa Harper, with orders to make the Xeraxian involvement clear. Jack's face gave away nothing, but his hand tightened on the back of Olivia's chair. Who carried it out? Olivia brought up 5 images. Xeraxian, soldiers with the distinctive marks of elite forces on their scaled skin. Strike Team Voros, led by Commander Krell. They're an Imperial kill squad based out of the Centaura outpost. And who gave the order? Jack asked, his voice dangerously soft. Another image appeared. A Xeraxian in ornate armor with deep purple scales. High Commander Vrex. He authorized the operation directly, under orders from the Emperor himself. The room fell silent. Even those with limited knowledge of Xeraxian politics knew Vrex was one of the most powerful figures in the Empire, second only to the Emperor. Jack studied the image for a long moment. Set course for Centaura outpost. Paul looked up sharply. Sir, Centaura is deep in Xeraxian space. It's a major military installation with over 2,000 troops. We're not attacking the outpost, Jack clarified. Commander Krell will come to us. 3 days later, the Northern Star orbited a small moon in an uninhabited system near Xeraxian space. Jack stood on the bridge watching as Sam entered with a concerned expression. The bait is set, Sam reported. Olivia planted the information in their networks. If their patterns hold, Commander Krell will investigate personally. Jack nodded. And our trap? Ready, Sam confirmed. We modified the abandoned mining facility on the moon's surface. It looks like a small human research outpost. Once they land to investigate, we'll be waiting. Jack looked out at the barren moon below. Make sure everyone understands I want Krell alive. Sam hesitated. The team is wondering, what happens after we get Krell? High Commander Vrex isn't someone we can just grab. One step at a time, Jack said. First Krell, then we'll see what he knows. Hours later, sensors detected a Xeraxian scout ship approaching the moon. The Northern Star powered down, hiding in the shadow of a nearby asteroid. On the surface, Jack and his team waited in hidden positions around the fake research outpost. The Xeraxian ship landed half a mile from the facility. Through surveillance drones, they watched as 6 figures emerged, 5 in combat armor and 1 in a commander's uniform. That's Krell, Olivia confirmed over the comm. The one in the lead. Jack touched the photo of Lisa in his pocket. Everyone in position. Remember the plan." The Xeraxians approached cautiously, weapons ready. As they entered the facility, lights flickered on, revealing what appeared to be an abandoned research station. Data tablets were strewn about, and food sat half-eaten on tables as if the inhabitants had left in a hurry. Commander Krell made a guttural sound to his soldiers. "Search everything. Find what they were researching." The soldiers spread out. One approached a terminal and activated it. As the screen lit up, a small device underneath released a colorless gas. The soldier dropped without a sound. Across the facility, the same scene played out as Jack's team triggered their traps. Within moments, 5 of the 6 Xeraxians lay unconscious. Only Commander Krell remained, suddenly alone and aware of the trap. He backed against a wall, weapon raised. "Show yourselves, humans." Jack stepped from the shadows, unarmed. Krell's weapon swung toward him. "General Harper," the Xeraxian said, his voice a low rumble, "your reputation precedes you." "As does yours, Commander Krell," Jack replied coldly. "You left your mark at my home on New Eden." Krell's scaled lips pulled back in what might have been a smile. "The scientist, your mate, it was nothing personal, General, just orders." "I understand," Jack said, taking a step closer. "It's nothing personal for me either." Krell fired his weapon, but Jack was already moving. He dodged with the speed and precision of a soldier with decades of combat experience. Before Krell could fire again, Jack was upon him. The fight was brutal, but brief. Despite his size and strength, the Xeraxian was outmatched by Jack's cold fury. Minutes later, Krell lay bound on the floor as the team secured the facility and the unconscious Xeraxian soldiers. "The others will be out for hours," Paul reported. "What do we do with them?" "Leave them," Jack ordered. "They're not the ones I want." In a makeshift interrogation room, Jack sat across from Commander Krell. The Xeraxian's arms were bound behind him, but he maintained an air of defiance. "You know why you're here," Jack said. "To kill me," Krell responded, "for the female scientist." Jack shook his head. "If I wanted you dead, you would be. I want information. About High Commander Vrex. About the orders he gave you." Krell made a sound like grinding stones, a Xeraxian laugh. "I will tell you nothing, human. Kill me and be done with it." Jack leaned forward. "You misunderstand me, Commander. I'm not going to torture you for information. I don't need to." He placed a small device on the table between them. "This contains all the data from your ship's computers, your mission logs, your communications with High Commander Vrex." Krell's eyes widened slightly. "But there are gaps," Jack continued. "Things you didn't record, things only you know. Tell me about Vrex, his habits, his weaknesses, his family." "His family is protected," Krell growled. "On the Imperial homeworld, you could never reach them." Jack's expression didn't change. "I don't want to harm his family, I just want him to think I might. The same fear he put into me when he sent you to kill my wife." Understanding dawned in Krell's alien eyes. "You plan to hunt him, to make him suffer as you have suffered." Jack simply waited. After a long silence, Krell began to speak. He told of Vrex's private estate on the moon of Karos, of his roots between there and the Imperial Palace, of his personal security measures, and finally of his greatest weakness, his pride in his house and lineage. When Krell finished, Jack stood. "Thank you, Commander." "What will you do with me now?" Krell asked. Jack looked down at him. "Send you home, alive, unharmed." He leaned closer. "So you can tell Vrex I'm coming." News of Commander Krell's capture and release spread through Xeraxian space like wildfire. The story grew with each telling, how a human general had penetrated their defenses, captured an elite commander, and let him go with a message. In the Imperial Palace, the Emperor demanded answers. High Commander Vrex stood before his ruler, his posture rigid but his forearms trembling slightly. "Explain how this human evaded our security," the Emperor hissed. "Explain how he made a fool of our forces." "General Harper is resourceful," Vrex said carefully. "We underestimated him." "You underestimated him," the Emperor corrected. You assured me killing his mate would send a message to the humans. Instead, it has brought this demon to our doorstep. Vrex bowed his head. I have increased security at all military installations. My personal guard has been doubled. Harper cannot reach us here. The Emperor's laugh was cold. You still don't understand humans, do you, Vrex? This one doesn't want to reach us. He wants to reach you. Later that night, in his private chambers in the Imperial City, Vrex received an encrypted message from the captain of his family's security detail on their estate on Karos Moon. All is well, High Commander, the captain reported. No signs of unusual activity. Your family remains safe. Vrex ended the transmission and poured himself a strong drink. His hand shook slightly, spilling droplets on his ornate desk. He had sent his mate and offspring to the family estate, thinking they would be safer away from the Imperial City. Now he wondered if that had been a mistake. A soft tone indicated another incoming message. Vrex opened it to find only an image, a photograph of his family's estate on Karos. It had been taken recently from a vantage point that showed the main house and gardens. In the garden, barely visible, was his youngest offspring playing near the fountain. There was no text with the image. There didn't need to be. The message was clear. I can reach them any time I want. Vrex roared in rage and fear, sweeping items from his desk. He immediately called his security chief. Get to Karos now. Bring my family back to the Imperial City immediately. On the Northern Star, Jack watched the chaos unfold through Olivia's intelligence network. They hadn't gone anywhere. Near Vrex's family, the photo had been taken by a commercial satellite and enhanced by Paul's technical skills. But Vrex didn't know that. He's moving his family to the Imperial City, Olivia reported. Just as you predicted. Jack nodded. And that means he'll use his personal transport, the one Krell told us about. Sam studied the star chart showing the route from Karos Moon to the Imperial City. It's still a heavily guarded ship, Jack. We can't attack it directly without starting a war. We're not going to attack it, Jack said. We're going to board it. The plan was daring to the point of insanity. Using information from Krell and Olivia's intelligence, they plotted the exact course Vrex's ship would take. At one point, it would pass near a dense asteroid field, a place where the Northern Star could hide until the last moment. As the day approached, tension on the ship grew. Each crew member knew the stakes. If they failed, if they were captured in Zyraxian space on what was essentially a kidnapping mission against a high government official, war between humans and Zyraxians would be inevitable. The night before the mission, Sam found Jack in the ship's observation deck staring out at the stars. The team is ready, Sam reported. But I have to ask, what's the end game here, Jack? What happens after we get Vrex? Jack didn't turn from the window. He answers for what he did. And then? Then it ends. Jack finally looked at his friend. I'm not looking to start a war, Sam. I'm looking to finish this one thing. Sam nodded slowly. The crew is with you, all the way. The next day they waited. In the asteroid field, systems powered down to avoid detection. Hours passed in tense silence until Paul's voice came over the comm. Target approaching. Right on schedule. Jack moved to the bridge. On the main screen, they watched as Vrex's transport ship appeared, sleek and heavily armed with escort vessels on either side. Timing has to be perfect, Jack reminded them. We'll only get one shot at this. As the Zyraxian ships passed, the asteroid field, the Northern Star, came to life. It shot out from hiding, using the asteroids as cover until the last possible moment. The Zyraxian escorts detected them too late. The Northern Star didn't attack. Instead, it matched speed, with Vrex's ship coming alongside it so closely that the larger Zyraxian vessel couldn't fire without risking damage to itself. Magnetic clamps ready, Alan reported from engineering. Attach us, Jack ordered. With a heavy thud that echoed through the hull, the Northern Star locked onto the side of Vrex's ship. Alarms blared on both vessels. Boarding team ready, Sam said, fully suited in combat gear. With him were Paul and two security officers. Jack checked his own weapon. Remember, we want Vrex alive. Disable the guards if possible, but no unnecessary casualties. They moved through the airlock and cut through the hull of the Xeraxian ship. Inside, chaos reigned as alarms sounded and crew members rushed to battle. Stations. The human team moved with practiced precision, using stun weapons to clear a path toward the ship's protected central section. On the bridge of his ship, High Commander Vrex received the alarming news. "Humans have boarded, sir. They're heading toward your position." Vrex snarled orders. "Seal all bulkheads. Kill them on sight." To his personal guards, he commanded, "Get my family to the escape pod." But the bulkheads didn't seal. The ship's systems began to malfunction. From the Northern Star, Olivia had hacked into their computer systems, using access codes extracted from the data at the outpost. The boarding team reached the central section. The fighting was intense, but brief. Jack moved with cold efficiency, his decades of combat experience evident in every motion. When they finally breached the door to Vrex's private quarters, they found the High Commander standing in front of his family, all four arms holding weapons. "Stay back, human," Vrex warned, "or I will order my escort ships to open fire, even if they hit this vessel." Jack stepped forward, removing his helmet. "No, you won't. Not with your family on board." Vrex's eyes narrowed. "What do you want, Harper?" "Justice," Jack said simply. "Your kill team murdered my wife, left your mark on my home. I'm returning the favor." "By killing me in front of my family," Vrex hissed. "Is that human justice?" Jack shook his head. "If I wanted you dead, you would be already." He lowered his weapon. "I came to show you that I could reach you any time. That nowhere in your empire is beyond my reach. That your family could feel the same fear mine did." Confusion crossed Vrex's alien features. "Then what is this?" "A message," Jack replied coldly. "Delivered in person." Vrex's escort ships held their fire, unable to attack while their commander and his family remained aboard the compromised vessel. Inside Vrex's quarters, tension filled the air as the two leaders faced each other. "What message?" Vrex finally asked, his weapon still raised. Jack stepped closer, ignoring the guns pointed at him. "That humans don't forget. That we don't forgive. That when you kill one of us, you make enemies of all of us." Sam and the boarding team kept their positions, weapons ready but not firing. "You could have sent that message without this display," Vrex said. "No," Jack replied. "You needed to feel what I felt. The violation of your home. The fear for your family." He gestured to the small Xeraxian children huddled behind their mother. "I wanted you to know what it was like to face someone who could take everything from you in an instant." Vrex's scales shifted color slightly, a sign of strong emotion among his kind. "And now? Will you kill me in front of my offspring?" "No," Jack said. "I'm going to let you live, so you can deliver my message to your emperor." He pulled out a small data device and tossed it at Vrex's feet. "On that device is proof that I could have killed you 10 different times in the past month. It also contains details of your military deployments along the human border that would be very interesting to my government." Vrex looked down at the device, then back at Jack. "What do you want?" "Justice," Jack said. "The humans you've killed, the colonies you've raided. It stops now." He took another step forward. "And you will personally ensure that your emperor understands this. The next time a Xeraxian kills a human civilian, there will be no warnings, no messages, just consequences." Without warning, alarms blared throughout the ship. Paul's voice came through Jack's comm. "General, the escort ships are powering weapons. They're going to fire." "Time to go," Sam urged. Jack didn't move, still holding Vrex's gaze. "Remember this moment, Commander. Remember that I spared your family when you did not spare mine." Back toward the door, never turning his back on the Xeraxian leader. The boarding team retreated down the corridors, fighting their way back to the airlock. Behind them, they could hear Vrex shouting orders to his crew not to pursue. They reached the Northern Star just as the first shots from the escort ship scorched the hull of Vrex's vessel. The magnetic clamps released with a metallic groan, and the Northern Star broke away, engines firing at full power. "Evasive maneuvers," Jack ordered as he reached the bridge. "Get us out of here!" Alan's hands flew over the controls. "They're locking weapons on us, sir." "Deploy countermeasures," Jack commanded. "All power to rear shields." The Northern Star zigzagged through space as energy blasts from the Xeraxian escort streaked past them. One shot grazed their hull, sending tremors through the ship. "Damage report," Jack called. "Minor damage to the outer hull," Alan replied. "Shields holding at 60%. "Can we make it to the jump point?" Jack asked. Sam checked the navigation system. "Yes, but they'll be right behind us." Jack smiled grimly. "No, they won't." He turned to Olivia. "Activate the package we left." On Vrex's ship. Olivia pressed a sequence of commands. On the view screen, they watched as Vrex's ship suddenly went dark, its systems shutting down. The escort vessels broke off pursuit to protect their disabled commander. "What did you do?" Paul asked. "Left a little gift in their computer system," Jack explained. "Nothing permanent. They'll have power back in about an hour, just enough time for us to disappear." The Northern Star reached the jump point and vanished into faster-than-light travel, leaving Xeraxian space behind. 2 weeks later, Admiral Catherine West sat across from Jack in her office on Earth Orbital Command. "The Xeraxians have agreed to new treaty terms," she said, sliding a data tablet toward him. "Full admission of their attacks on human colonies, reparations for the families of victims, and a formal apology for the death of Dr. Lisa Harper." Jack didn't touch the tablet. "And Vrex?" "Removed from power," Catherine replied. "The Emperor publicly denounced his actions. Apparently your visit made quite an impression." Jack nodded slightly. "It was never about vengeance. It was about justice." Catherine studied him. "Was it worth it, Jack? Risking war?" "Ask the families, who won't lose their loved ones to Xeraxian kill teams," he answered quietly. "Ask the colonies that can sleep safely tonight." He stood and placed his officer's insignia on her desk. "I'm done, Catherine. This was my last mission." She didn't seem surprised. "Where will you go?" "Away," he said simply. "There's nothing for me here now." 2 days later, Jack stood in a small cemetery on New Eden. Lisa's grave was simple, marked with a stone bearing her name and a small garden of local flowers. He knelt and placed his hand on the cool stone. "It's done," he whispered. "They'll never hurt anyone else the way they hurt you." He stayed there until sunset, saying his final goodbye. The next morning, he boarded a small scout ship he had purchased with his military pension. It was enough for one person to live comfortably, to travel far from human space. As the ship lifted off from New Eden, Jack looked down at the blue-green world where he had briefly found happiness. Part of him would always remain there, buried, beside a small stone marker. But the rest of him needed to move on, to find a new purpose. 6 months later, stories began to spread through the frontier colonies of a lone human helping those in need. Pirates attacking a mining outpost found their ships disabled by precisely targeted strikes. Slavers raiding a farming colony were ambushed with military precision. Each time, the mysterious helper vanished before anyone could thank him. On Earth, Admiral West received reports of these incidents. She never investigated too deeply. Some warriors couldn't put down their swords, she knew. Some found peace only in protecting others. In the vastness of space, Jack Harper found a new mission. Not revenge, not even justice anymore. Just preventing others from feeling the loss he had felt. Just making sure that somewhere in the galaxy, someone would sleep safely tonight because of what he did today. And sometimes, in the quiet darkness, between the stars, he would look at Lisa's photo and tell her about the people he had helped. In those moments, he could almost believe she was smiling back.